I'm in Benedict Canyon, Los Angeles. Just down here is Cielo Drive. You may have heard the name before. It was here that Sharon Tate and 4 other people were murdered by the Manson family. The Manson family were a cult led by Charles Manson, wannabe singer and criminal. Charles Manson visited the home on 23rd of March 1969, looking for Terry Melcher, record producer and the son of Doris Day. Melcher was no longer living at the address, and Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate had moved in. Manson allegedly saw Sharon Tate at the house. The murders took place in the early hours of August 9th, 1969. Charles Manson himself was not present. He sent his henchmen to do his dirty work. This is the drive that leads up to the Sharon Tate house. The Manson family members drove up this drive, broke the telephone lines and then reversed the car back down the drive, presumably with the engine off, as not to be detected. Now the address of the Tate house was 150, but has since been changed to 166. The original house was demolished in 1994, and there's a huge new house there now. Now Sharon Tate is best known for the film The Valley of the Dolls, and she was married to Roman Polanski at the time, and she was expecting their first child. And when she was murdered, she was 8.5 months pregnant. The first victim was Steve Parent, who had just been visiting the caretaker of the house. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the Manson family murdered him quite close to the driveway as he was leaving the property. The 4 Manson family members scaled the embankment to the right of the gate to break into the property's grounds. The first victim was Stephen Parent, who was leaving the property as they were breaking in. He was shot and stabbed several times inside his car. I'm trying to keep this a family-friendly channel, so I won't go into the gruesome details of the murders. Sharon Tate and the 3 friends were murdered in and around the house. The only survivor that evening was William Garriston, the caretaker. He lived in a separate cottage not far from the main house. He was initially arrested for questioning, but later released. He could shed no light on the events of the evening, as he was totally unaware of what happened. He said that he had stayed up until daybreak on the night of the murders, but heard nothing. Only to say that one of the dogs he kept in the guest house where he stayed barked during the night, but he was not alarmed. After the murder of Sharon Tate, the Manson family wrote the words "pig" on the door of the house with her blood. Coming up to the gates now. This is actually a new gate. The gate at the time of the murders was further back. Try and see if we can have a look. Oh no, there's somebody there. Like I said, the original house was demolished in 1994, and the last occupant was Trent Reznor of the band 9 Inch Nails, and he actually recorded the album The Downward Spiral in the house. Now there's a telegraph pole there, but that's not the telegraph pole where the Manson family cut the wires. That one was also further back by the old gate. To the right of the gate you can see the embankment which I mentioned earlier. Roman Polanski flew back to California immediately after the murders. He appeared in Life magazine photos at the crime scene. This angered many people, including the owner of the house. He sued Polanski and Life magazine on the grounds that the photos ruined the property's resale value. Just on my way back down the drive now. I had a stroke of luck whilst I was there. the gates of the house actually opened and a workman came out. So I had a quick look through the gate. The new house seems to come up quite close to where the old gate was. So it must be a much larger house than the original house that was there. Okay, I've come back down the hill now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up this little road here. So I think you can probably see the new house from the top there. So just get a quick shot across. Then after that I'll go and visit Sharon Tate's grave. This is the house that now sits on the site. As of 2023, the house has a valuation of $85 million. Before visiting the grave of Sharon Tate, I decided to go and visit the grave of a person who was connected to the case. I'm now at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Glendale. I'm right at the far end of the cemetery, where you'll find the grave of Vincent Bugliosi. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He was an attorney, prosecutor and author. He's best remembered for prosecuting Charles Manson and other members of the Manson family. Some of the Manson family had confessed to their crimes, but Charles Manson and 4 others went to trial. They were all sentenced to death, but the death sentence would later be abolished in California. He later wrote a book about the Manson trial called Helter-Skelter. It is the biggest selling true crime book in publishing history, with over 7 million copies sold. In 1996 he wrote the book Outrage, the 5 reasons why O.J. Simpson got away with murder. He died in June 2015 at the age of 80. This is Holy Cross Cemetery in Culver City, and this is where you'll find the grave of Sharon Tate. I'm making my way to a part of the cemetery that's referred to as the grotto. It's a part of the cemetery where there are a number of celebrities buried, including Sharon Tate. A little bit of information about Sharon Tate. She was 26 years old when she died. She was a distant cousin of Dennis Quaid. The Barbie doll Malibu Barbie was based on Sharon Tate's character in the 1967 film Don't Make Waves. She was 5'6" tall, and she hated wearing shoes, even if she was going out to a restaurant. She starred with David Niven in The Eye of the Devil, and Niven believed she had the potential to be a great success. Okay, I've arrived at the grotto. Here we have the grave of Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate Polanski, 1943-1969. She was widely known as a very kind and sweet-natured person. Also named is Paul Richard Polanski, the baby that she was expecting when she was murdered.